Good evening. The time is now 6 p.m. and I call this regular meeting of the Freeport Economic Development Corporation to order. Can you do our invocation, and Miss Marshall, can you do our pledge?
Yes. Yes.
Father, we come to you this evening thanking you for the many blessings that you give us in our lives and in our families. We lift up our city, our state, our country, our world to you, and all of the disarray that has taken place recently with the floods and the tornadoes and people's homes and lives utterly destroyed. Give them some kind of peace and making decisions, Lord, whatever it is, that they look to you for the right things to do, and just bless them all, God. Be with us tonight in our meeting as we discuss our business. Help us to make good choices in the decisions that we decide on. Once again, thank you for loving us. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
To face the flag, I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you all for doing that. That takes us to citizen comments. And seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda. We're going to approve the meeting minutes for April 9th, 2024, and then also our special meeting minutes from April 16th.
I have a correction.
Mhm.
I believe when the Four Corners was talking about his property taxes escalated from 2.9 million to 5.2 million, that's not his taxes, that's the value of his property.
Oh, yeah. What page is that?
Page 3. It's very top. It's page 3.
All right. Are there any other corrections to our meeting minutes? All right, we'll move on to approving our financials. Ms. Ezo?
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
The sales tax that was received in April was for February of 2024. The EDC received $99,631, which is an increase to the same month as last year. Currently, the EDC has received $13,699 more in sales tax when compared to the same time period last fiscal year. As of April 30th, revenues were under expenditures by $78,339. The fund balance in the EDC fund was $1,746,853. The fund balance of the projects fund is $1,221,456. The fund balance in your marketing fund is $155,749, and the balance of the TERS fund is $483,264.
Thank you, Ms. Ezo. Are there any questions for Ms. Ezo about that? Okay. Thank you. And I'd like to entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
I'll second. I make that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Marshall. Is there a second? And a second by Mark. All those in favor state aye.
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 All opposed state nay. Motion passed unanimously. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on down to our discussion and action items, and we're going to discuss and take possible action on the Four Corners project.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Mr. Ali, Adnan Ali, is not here tonight, and also I had requested some tax records from him, and he hasn't yet replied, so there's no action needed tonight. But we just wanted to quickly take a moment to present you with draft, and I emphasize the word draft, of internal guidelines featuring the environmental factor evaluation matrix. It's a rating system discussed at our last meeting based on concerns the board had with criteria about requests, funding.
Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Ms. Marshall, was there something that,
Yeah, can you speak up just a little bit, please?
okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
That we discussed at the last board meeting on concerns the board had with criteria about requests, funding, and distribution of grant funds. The tool provides clear, objective criteria for our grant approval process, addressing concerns about transparency and fairness. And let me just state, this has nothing to do with our normal business improvement grant. This is just the special projects infrastructure grants that we're getting in, and it's a draft of that. The two criteria that we looked at, the main criteria, were jobs created, the number of jobs a program or the project will generate, and establishments or businesses that is supported. It evaluates how many local businesses the project supports. These criteria allow us to objectively assess and compare grant applications based on their economic impact, which was requested by members of the board at the last meeting. This is a draft document. I emphasize that. It's our starting point to present for review. And our goal is to have a transparent, robust system that supports our community. In summary, the EFE matrix helps ensure fairness and transparency on our grant decisions by focusing on measurable economic impacts.
Okay, thank you.
And again, no action is needed tonight. It's just if we're going in a wildly incorrect direction, we'd like the board to let us know before we proceed.
I think this looks great to me. It seems to cover a lot of questions that, a lot of us kind of had just about the whole situation. Did anybody else have any input on this?
What did you say you were waiting for, Robert, from, that you haven't received yet?
I had asked Mr. Adnan Ali for some tax records from the county on
Okay.
his property taxes, whether he had paid them. We asked for that in our other grant, and I'm still waiting for. Also, I asked him for a firm number on how many employees are employed at each of his establishments, so I have yet to hear back from him on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that seems like useful information.
Right.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Scroll back up. And we'll discuss and take possible action on the Parks project.
Okay, this just came in today, this new estimate. Does everybody have one in front of them? Okay. Lance and I have been working on the park project, and we've gone to basically all the businesses that we had outlined, and we received $50,000 from Phillips 66, and we also received not a full commitment, but still a maybe possible from Dow Chemical. What Dow would like to do is see how, as the grant proceeds, they'd like to see A, who else has contributed, and then B, they kind of wanted, this is their words, they wanted to kind of jump in at the end of the project and see what needs tidying up. So basically what we've done is we can move forward. Lance, and feel free to interject, Lance, received an offer that's good for 30 days. That's a really good offer. And you see that it fixes 3 parks, Peppermint Park, Arrington Park, and Stephen F. Austin Park. With that $50,000 from Phillips Petroleum, Phillips 66 factored in. The cost of this park project would be $249,789.85 for the EDC. I'm not sure, Kathy and I talked about the impact this would have on our budget, and Kathy, I'm not sure if you wanted to say anything.
When y'all did the budget for this year for projects, y'all did move $400,000 into the project fund. If I remember correctly, most of that was for the possible park project. So that money is in there. We just haven't allocated any of those funds to this project. So that $1,220,something thousand that we discussed, that would reduce that fund balance by the $250,000 because those funds have not been allocated yet.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Robert, for going ahead and asking her about that, because that was probably my primary concern. And I know some people would probably argue that, you know, the EDC and parks isn't something that goes together, but really I would think that this could potentially have somewhat of a ripple effect. You know, if we have better parks, more people might want to live here, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you all for taking care of that.
I fully agree, and since we're a Type B corporation in the state of Texas, certainly parks would be one of the things that we can do, as Paige is nodding her head affirmatively. So, I mean, you see the total. I'm not sure what the pleasure of the board is, but this is kind of the culmination. The thing I really like about the program that we've come up with is that we've got a firm amount that would upgrade the equipment right now. We've received some complaints and even an injury in the past couple months at the park because of the dilapidated state of the equipment. This would update the equipment. Yes, based on the presentation that I gave you a few months ago, it would change the layout a little bit, but we'd still update all the equipment, and then it would leave us room to get somebody like Dow to replace. You'll notice it says, you know, items not included, walking path, fence, lighting. We could approach them about that, and also ADA accessible equipment, because that was one of the things that Dow also outlined is how would this do for accessibility? Where would that fit in? So we'd still have that component out there that we could get if Dow decided to contribute to this project. We'd still be able to do that, but we could move forward with the other portion of the project. Lance, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
You pretty much covered everything. It is through a buy board pricing, so there is no bidding this project out. All the equipment is in stock. It's out of a branch out of McKinney, Texas, so it's local to us, to where we could get replacement parts. There's warranties on it and everything else. So, and this is a turnkey project. That's including the installation. They come down, they install it all, and inspect it and everything else after the installation's complete. But yeah, it is a scaled down version, and I did receive an email a couple of weeks ago about a child fell off of one of the ones in Arrington Park and had skinned his face up and things like that, which those dilapidated pieces of equipment, our public works goes in and screws plywood over them where the missing parts are, and then you got older kids that come in at night, rip it off, and then a kid goes over there and falls right off of it. So it's something we need to do to upgrade the equipment, for sure. Of course, it is a scaled back version of what we presented to the stakeholders and to y'all, but it's a start for us to get these three parks back up to where they need to be.
Thank
Mr.
you.
President, can you summarize what was just said?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Petty just came on and mentioned that while what we have before us isn't exactly what was shown, you know, previously to the board, it's a very decent first step in getting the parks where they need to be. I don't know if you heard, but a child was injured falling off of some of the broken equipment, and so that's another issue, you know, that we have with our parks currently.
So I just have a few questions. So this that you just gave us, is this the same that's in our packet?
No,
Oh, whoa, it's
we-
two different ones?
Yes, we received that this morning, so we didn't have time to put it in your packet. The email from Lance that talks about $241,000 is obsolete at this point because, like I said, it's gone up to 249. But yes, that was on your desk tonight or on the
Okay,
rostrum
so
is
the
correct.
one that's the 241 is no longer?
No longer.
Okay,
Yes, we received, just so we received this today.
okay. And just curious, I mean, I don't know how that works, but I know it's equipment, playground equipment, but does any of that come with any warranty, like, and then if it does damage or something happens to it, do we maintenance it, or do they contract and we get it fixed? I don't know if that makes sense on the question.
Yes, ma'am. The warranty on it is a 100-year limited warranty on the aluminum and steel upright posts and hardware post caps and clamps, structural failures. So there's a 100-year warranty on that. Then you have different levels of warranty on different types of equipment. There's 15 years on the rails and rungs and climbers and things like that, and then 5 years on some cables and 3 years on minor things that are attached to the equipment. But so if anything, these parks are supposed to be inspected daily by the Parks Department. So if they find something that's wrong with it, they're supposed to shut that portion of the playground down, and then they'll contact this company for warranty work on it as well, or parts to come in and replacement parts. So yes, there is warranty that's attached to it as well. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Lance, I know the meteorologists that I've listened to have said this is going to be a very active hurricane season. So what if a hurricane does come in here and tear some of this up? We're still warranted with that?
Yeah, the
That's
city
more or less
actually
an act of
carries
God.
warranty on all of our equipment and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So when it's installed, we'll have to put it on our TML insurance, so it's all insured and everything.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
good.
All right, thank you, Mr. Petty.
So, looking at all of it, and I do agree with the front page that we need to look at some ADA along with Dow, but I will tell you, I'm a Lions Club member. Lions Clubs does grants up to $100,000 in matching grants for ADA equipment. They just need basically 90 days before it goes to the board each time, because they meet every 90 days. So I will get the paperwork that needs to be done to submit, but that's one of our big things.
Parks Program. And I did look into that program that you told me about. I didn't see the paperwork, but I did look into it. And you're right. The good thing about that, Mr. Martin, is that we would be able to have that second component of the ADA accessibility, which fits into, from what I understood, reviewing that Lions Club page, which fits squarely into their mission.
It is one of our biggest things, is make all kids inclusive. And so it would be kids on wheelchairs, any problem, and it's also sensory for kids who are blind. So, and we do this all over the world, so we might as well take advantage of it. It's there, it's free. So I will get you the paperwork. Okay?
So I have a question. I know that we're trying to bring our parks, these 4 parks that we're discussing here tonight, up to like a certain code, a certain standard for safety for our children. Are all the rest of the parks, are they at that safe level? The ones that we're not, looking to fix right now, are they at that certain safety level?
Yes, ma'am. The city made an investment back in 2017, and FMP Park and Freeport Community House Park is where they, and actually at the Blasco House, that's where they spent most of their money upgrading the equipment at those 3 places. The other parks, they didn't do much improvements to them. So these are the ones that we addressed first because they're the worst parks in the city and most utilized parks.
Thank you.
I have one more question. So I know Phillips 66 is doing 50, and then, of course, Dow is, we're not sure on that amount, but how many other, and you may have mentioned that, but how many other companies were approached for, and the Phillips and Dow were the only ones that commented that they would help?
Right.
Okay.
We approached Phillips LNG, Chevron, Phillips, BASF, of course Dow Chemical, ME Global, and AT&T, of which we received an affirmative from Phillips 66, which is great. And then
Yes.
and then Dow, I'll emphasize I can't predict the future, but it does sound promising. He was very interested in the presentation, and he's actually asked me for follow-up. And so, like I said, I'm not sure of their giving model, but what he explained to me was coming in at the tail end, kind of finding out who else had donated, where the need would be at the tail end. And again, that's why I really like this, because we can do things like with the Lions Club grant and also Dow, we've got another whole component of the Parks project that we envisioned in our original presentation that we went over a few months ago, that still can be added on to this without disturbing the progress of the current request.
Mr. Johnson, how much additional funding would the other components require? Just a rough estimate.
I don't have that with me. That fencing and, what was it, Lance? The fencing and the sidewalks, those were the most expensive components of the project.
Yeah, and I didn't bring that portion with me.
I didn't bring that. I can email that to the board tomorrow
Okay,
if you'd
yeah.
like me to. They were, if memory serves me correctly, they were about 50,000, give or take, for each park on fencing, and then another 50 on sidewalks, with a little more going to Stephen F. Austin because of the larger surface that it had to cover.
Okay. So potentially, I know this isn't anything written down, but around 300,000
Somewhere in
combined.
there.
Okay.
So the parks are about equal in the amount of the cost that it's gonna take to fix these up, or are they vary? And
It-
if so, by how much, like, is it a big variance?
It varies. So Peppermint Park, the total is 72,871.11. And then Arrington Park, that's, as you probably know, the largest of these three parks, with the basketball courts and just all the other equipment over by like near 4th Street area. That one is 123,446.87. And then we have Stephen F. Austin Park, which the Phillips 66 grant is applied to that, but the total is 103,471.87.
So do you know about how long it might take for us to hear from the other companies, or?
We've heard from all the companies that we've talked to. Dow Chemical is the one that's still outstanding as far as their decision, but that decision would be made at the tail end of the project. And with this way, we could tell them exactly. I mean, if it's the board's pleasure to approve this, we could tell them, this is what we're doing, this is what the EDC has contributed to this is what Phillips contributed to this, and this is what our needs, these are what our needs still are. and we could go from there on that project. So all the answers, with the exception of Dow, are in, but Dow would be covered with the additional component of this proposal.
And so how much is the EDC committed to again?
This evening, what the request is $249,789.85.
So really, it's shy of 300,000 then, because of the 50?
Yes.
Okay.
And Mr. Johnson, would you recommend that we go ahead and approve or work on this tonight, or would you say maybe wait and see?
That I
guess that's up to
because of
us.
the fact that we're on, as Lance has led me to believe, we're on a tight timeline
right,
with this
yeah.
offer, I would advise to move. I think we're at a good spot with this project where we can upgrade the equipment and do what we set out to do. There's still some components that we can look after and for lack of a better word, chase after down as we move down the road. But I think it would be great, being that there is a timeline on this, to get this part of the project out of the way this evening.
Well, and just so you know, currently right now, they're running specials on this equipment. So it's around 50% discount right now.
Oh, okay.
So if you looked at the one play area that's called Monkey Business, that's for $15,434. They just marked it down to that because it was listed at $30,868. So all of their equipment is marked down right now around 50%. So that's why I reached out to them and started getting some quotes from them and trying to get some stuff ironed down. So.
Okay.
And the second part of the component, like you said, is not included, the walking path, fence, lighting. Is that the same company, or is that totally would be a different contract with another company that does that part? Is that a different company?
It would be a different company
would
that
be?
does that. And,
Okay.
And, Peppermint's the smallest of the part. So your walking trail and stuff's a lot cheaper there than it's going to be at Arrington and Stephen F. Austin. But you can always rearrange the design. We had a conceptual done, but that doesn't mean that's the design we have to go with. If we need to scale that down, we can always do that too to make it more affordable. So. And Public Works can install the fence, we just have to buy it. So there's ways to bring this down even further for the phase 2 of it if we get that far. So we'd work on that and look at reducing prices on that portion of it as well.
Thank you.
So the $50,000 that was given is, did it go to the EDC? Is this included? This includes that 249 or no?
The 50 is not included in the 249. That's the 249 is our part.
Is our part.
Yes, ma'am.
How long do you anticipate this project will take to complete?
I would have to find out on what would take the longest is them getting their installation crew down here to install it. It's all in stock. They verified that today, so it's ready to ship. So whenever they get their installer scheduled to get down here and install it, I wouldn't think it would take that long for them to get their installers here. But yeah, it's all in stock, ready to ship.
Well, and typically this stuff goes on sale once a year.
Okay.
So if we delay it or hold off, it's going to go back to regular price. But this is pretty typical. I've done them before.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion
Yeah, sure.
that we accept the price we have for the EDC funding and fund these 3 parks.
All right. Well, we have a motion to fund the 3 parks, the equipment for these 3 parks at $249,789.85. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Motion by Ronnie, seconded by Ken. Any other debate or discussion?
Yes, I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, let's say one of the other companies, Dow, for instance, decides that they're going to contribute to this park project, does this money go back to the EDC?
No, ma'am. There is still a component. I guess we can think of this as phase one. And then there are the walking trails and the fencing. And Robert just gave me a rough estimate in lighting as well. And he just gave me a very rough estimate. Nothing's written down, but about that would still be $300,000. And then that's where Dow would hopefully come in and contribute to that second phase of the project. Oh, and the ADA accessible equipment.
Which is something Dow wants.
Was this included in our budget? I know that the parks project was included in the original budget. Can you remind me how much we allocated towards that?
Yes, ma'am. We allocated 400,000.
300,000?
400.
400?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. We do still have a motion on the floor with a second. Is there any other debate or discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed state nay. Motion passed unanimously. We'll move on to discuss and review the Terracon Grant Award.
Yes, Mr. President, last year we had applied for the Terracon grant, which is a Brownsfield grant, so that we could look at basically properties that are either city-owned or EDC-owned, and check them out for contamination. We have not received final word. I was hoping to have an announcement today, but there's not the definitive final word, but the results look encouraging. When we do receive the final word, I'll email the board. I know that's not the announcement I wanted to make tonight, but that's the announcement I have to make. But the grant is for $500,000, and it looks promising, I can say that.
Okay. And the grant is towards, you said contaminated?
Yes,
Can you just
brownfield grant
Oh,
for
okay.
contaminated sites and cleanup.
Okay, and they will grant us $500,000 to conduct the cleanup?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Were there any other questions?
Robert, I got a
Oh,
question about that. The remediation that you're gonna have to do, that's an EPA thing, correct?
Yes. EPA is the one that's awarding the grant.
Okay. And so we'll just follow their guidelines. I mean, certainly there'll be some communication there with that.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
All right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 4. Discuss and take possible action on the grant application for Mark Cambria for his 5 Cottages Business Improvement Grant.
Okay, yes, Mr. President. Mark Cambria was supposed to be here tonight, but unfortunately he called and had a situation come up, so he couldn't be here, so I'll endeavor to present this. I will say at the outset, it's a well-researched and written grant. He was very thorough. There are a couple things, if you look at, and excuse me while I try and turn to the page. He's basically improving the cottages. Now, one point of business that I'd like to point out, we had awarded a grant for this cottage project to Mr. Kevin Mutai, if you recall, last year. Mr. Mutai, I don't think would object to me stating that he had some significant health problems and he had to get out. Never did we expend any money. So I would defer to Paige with whether we need to shut that down or rescind it before we proceed with this. But Mr. Cambria is asking us, he wants to make improvements to the facade. He's got them listed under property improvements, landscaping, and then signage. He's submitted estimates for facade work, for property improvements, and for landscaping, but none for signage. Now, he doesn't have the required estimate for that, but he'd still be able to get up to $30,000 of course, at the board's pleasure. With the numbers that he has here, he'd be able to hit the maximum threshold for each of those. One point of direction that I need from the board is, Katie used to say you could only get 3 categories, awarded 3 categories. Obviously, he can't get it for signage because he didn't submit receipts, but in absent of that, he submitted for 4, and nowhere in the grant do I see where you can only get 3 categories. Was that ever, I'm just asking some of the folks that have been on the board for a while, was that ever made a motion where we allowed it to be only in 3 categories? Because it simply doesn't say in the application.
I do remember that being stated. I can't say if it was ever, written down or put in an official, any official documentation. But that is something that we've just always abided by.
Okay. So, having said that, page 48 spells out the improvements that he wants to make, and then he's got the receipts, he's got all the permits from code, he owns the property, he crosses off all the things in the checklist. So, yeah, obviously it's the board's pleasure, but this was a well-written grant. He's got a good plan, and he's got the receipts, or excuse me, the invoices, estimates, I'm sorry, for the project. So it's pretty tight.
Because it's 3 separate grants.
Trying to picture the 8 South Avenue B. Where is that?
It's close to Glasgow. It's on
Yeah,
the
I can kind of picture the area. Is it some buildings? Oh, those little,
They're little cottages.
yeah. Okay.
They're little cottages off the road.
Is it behind the?
He said it's close to
I know exactly
Velasco.
where it
I'm
is now.
sorry. The school or the street?
No, the street.
Okay.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Avenue B. Oh.
Can't. I think these are them.
Yeah, we used to have a lot of evictions out of that place.
Yeah, you know where it is.
And the cottages themselves, I've gone in them before. They were in pretty poor condition, but they look like they could be really fixed up. I've seen cities fix up cottages like that before, make them look remarkable. I think it's an area of town, just advocating for Mr. Cambria here, I think it's an area of town that where that property could use some sprucing up, and I think he's got the plan to do it.
And did he mention, I guess, his reasoning for needing a grant? Does he just not have enough tenants, or?
He didn't mention the reasoning for the grant. I suppose just to help him defray costs.
He did mention on the phone that he's put a lot of his own funds into fixing it, and I think it's just that he's getting towards the end of his funds and the project's not
Oh, I see.
completed.
Okay, thank you.
Robert, did he say how long he has owned the property?
Did he say to you? No, he just calculating in my mind though, when I first heard from him, he was looking very carefully at buying it, and that was last fall, and then he actually did buy it, so I would say he's owned it since the
recent.
winter. Yeah, it's been recent. He hasn't owned it for a long time, because if you recall, last year we voted to approve Kevin Mutai's project in the same cottages, but of course, as I stated before, Mr. Mutai ran into significant health problems and could not move forward with his project.
Can you remind me the amount that was approved for, previously approved? Do you have that with you?
Off the top of my memory, it was $29,000.
Okay, so the same, almost,
But it was, yeah, it's almost the same.
okay.
We need to cancel that.
And Paige, do we need to cancel the previously approved grant before we rescind it?
I would be interested to look at the agreement for that. Is there a signed agreement for that previous grant?
Yes.
Okay, I'd be just interested to review that before I advise on that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Can they proceed tonight with this grant?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there any other questions or comments or a motion? What was that? Oh, the cost. I think it's,
Motion that,
oh,
we approve Mark Cambria's, what he wanted to do to those cottages.
all right, we have a motion by Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, motion by Mark, seconded by Ronnie. And is there any debate or discussion? And Ken, to answer your
Yes, yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
we would be, let's see, obligated 50% of it, Robert?
10,000 is the max.
Yes, so it'd be 30,000 for, because it's 10,000 per category, so it would be a $30,000 grant that we'd be approving tonight.
Okay.
And I'm just getting a note from Mr. Cambria, to answer the question. My apologies. To answer the question of when he owned it, he said he bought it on December 7th, 2023, so last December.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor with a second to approve the funding for these 3 grants, facade, property improvements, and landscaping of the maximum amount for $10,000 each. Is there any more debate or discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, state nay. Motion passed unanimously. We'll move on to number 5, and I see Anna coming up now. We're going to discuss and review the UTSA project status.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Anna Silvas, Main Street Coordinator. Just to provide another update regarding the UTSA project. Are you able to hear me?
Ms. Marshall, can you hear Anna?
Perfect.
I can, thank you.
My last meeting with Ian Kane was held on Wednesday, May 8th. Robert and myself met with him. In this meeting, we were discussing the logistics for our next community visioning session, number 2, that is actually set for July 18th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Freeport River Place. So again, currently I'm working to create the flyer and begin the advertising to the public for that event. So jot that down in y'all's calendars, and I'll be sure to provide the flyer to Robert and Rachel. Let's see, this session, community visioning session number 2, will allow for UTSA to present the draft work that they've already completed to the community, and will allow us to assess the work addressing our downtown master plan and design guidelines. Currently, we are still looking to see how we are going to have our exercise for this community visioning session. So that is still in motion, and we're still in the planning process for how our community exercise will be conducted. The final document should be submitted to myself by August 2024. So just three more, what month are we in? I don't even know, May. So the end of August is coming up quick. We should have that in hand. Ian Kane, who is the principal of the project, did mention that there is some flexibility in that in the case that there are some additional revisions that need to be made into September. So On behalf of Main Street, I would just like to thank the EDC for helping to get this project going and for being a collaborative partner with us, and for Robert and Rachel for also being an assistance to Main Street and partaking in the meetings thus far.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your dedication to Main Street.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments on this? All right. We'll go ahead and move on to number 6, discuss and take possible action on KidFest sponsor requests.
So this one was a little bit of a surprise for me to be in here tonight, but KidFest is going to be held August 3rd, 2024, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. in historic downtown Freeport. I do believe you do have the flyer in your packets. This year's theme is a wildlife adventure, and Main Street is seeking to ask for a sponsorship from EDC. Typically, the sponsorship that EDC does provide does cover marketing such as event t-shirts. Everybody seems to love event t-shirts, entertainment, and also goes to providing any additional special activities for the event. I did give to Rachel a sponsorship little flyer that I did create with different sponsorship levels. Currently, Main Street, or myself, is seeking $5,000 for EDC to be the main event sponsor for this event. There are different levels regarding sponsorship, including a $3,000 entertainment level, a $1,000 activity sponsor, and a $500 community partner sponsorship, just to allow for the different commitments by community partners. Currently, I did receive a $1,000 sponsorship from Texas Gulf Bank, which is from Irene, who is currently on our board and serves as vice chair. I have also additionally spoke to Ronnie about Brazosport Breakfast Club sponsoring hot dogs as well. And let's see, additionally working to speak with Gulf Coast Bird Observatory with the help of Edith Fisher. She's a board member as well, and so I've started that process of beginning to reach out to community partners and see how they can be involved in this community event. It's a free event for the kiddos. So again, we're just looking to seek $5,000 as the main event sponsor. You also have a little draft for our event t-shirts that are in your packet. I created this on Canva. So that's kind of where we're at. I use Miss Robin, who is with Roscoe's Imprints and Embroidery. So really that's what we're looking for. And we would appreciate any support on behalf of the EDC.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I just wanted to remind the board, because this would come out of our marketing budget, correct?
Yes, yes, it would.
And I was looking at our total. We do have, if I'm not mistaken, $155,749.
Yes, because of the carryover, yes.
Okay.
And this would go, I mean, we've done a great job partnering with Main Street as our stated goal. This would go hand in hand with that. I'd also interject that Main Street just had an excellent Cinco de Mayo festival in the downtown that brought a lot of people to the downtown. I really appreciate the work that Anna and the city are doing in the downtown to revitalize that downtown.
Just curious, what's the, I know you may not have that yet, but the time frame, like, is it 10 to 4 or what? Is it on here and I missed
7
it?
p.m. Yes, ma'am. It's at the very bottom of the flyer by the little compass and the map.
Where at? I don't see. Not on here.
This one?
In your packet.
Oh, this one's,
on the,
I see.
okay.
Okay.
So it's not, okay, we're looking at
Yes.
that, okay. And what is it?
3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, I see it.
I do
Okay.
know that the C Center is also having an event that day, but it's from 11 to 3. So kind of 3 p.m. is a little bit cooler. Last year, I know it was super hot. I myself got sick last year, so yeah.
Oh, so what we're just looking at was a sponsorship form?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I got
Seeking a
you.
sponsorship. The second one is a sponsorship level that I'm currently sending out to additional community partners to see if they're interested in participating. Like I mentioned, Texas Gulf Bank has sponsored $1,000, and I have been speaking with Ronnie about the Brazosport Breakfast Lions Club looking to sponsor the hot dogs as well, again this year.
And Anna, I had a question about if we were to sponsor at the $5,000 level, would the EDC logo be
Yes.
featured on
On,
the
on
flyer
the,
and the
on the flyer,
t-shirt?
on the t-shirt.
Yes, ma'am.
On the stage. Anyway, I'm also looking at other ideas, little maybe goodie bags for the kiddos. So just working to make it a great event. I know that I had also talked to Robert about potentially looking to seek additional funds for entertainment purposes. And this, I actually had a meeting this morning with the company called Psychoustics, and this is to get a better experience at our events, looking to get addressing the sound within our event boundaries, I guess you could say. It does address having main stage integration, which allows the company to have little cubes that are set out throughout the main street, I guess, roads that we will have blocked off, and we'll project the sound out to the outer perimeters as well. Because I know when you get towards the end, the stage is facing one way, so music is going one way. So how can we expand upon that? It also does allow for us to include custom audio programs, so we could have up to 5 sponsored messages. So we could have their company create something, EDC, regarding EDC, thanking the event attendees for being here at the event on behalf of the city of Freeport and Main Street. So there's many creative ways in marketing or creating these messages. And also another way is to address as far as like emergency management and if there's any lost child protocols. Although it's a smaller confined area, we would hope that wouldn't be an issue. But as events are growing across the state, looking at innovative ways to address some of those concerns as we host our events in downtown.
Thank you.
Anna, what animals will be brought, and what company is bringing these animals?
I'm working on that right now.
No lions, tigers, and bears?
Maybe if I can. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. Those are free.
Oh, my.
Those are free.
Alligators.
No charge for the rattlesnakes.
Yes, so I'm working on that, and we'll hope to have some different examples and interactive. We want it to be an interactive event for the kiddos. And like I said, the Gulf Coast Bird Observatory has already mentioned that they would like to participate. So I'm also going to reach out to the Wildlife Refuge. So going out to other community events helps to connect me to people to bring them back to our community. So that's what I'm working on.
Were there any other questions for Ms. Anna? All right. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
So I need to recuse myself from this vote, okay?
Oh,
So
so
that
yeah,
board.
forget your board. Yeah.
Well, I would like, am I okay? I would like to make a motion to approve the 5,000 event sponsor for the Kid Fest on August the 3rd, 2024.
And I'll go ahead and second that motion. We have a motion on the floor by Ms. Loesa to approve the $5,000 event sponsorship for Kid Fest, and a second by myself. Is there any debate or discussion? All right, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed state nay. Motion passed unanimously. All right, that takes us to our board and executive director comments. And Ms. Marshall, can you start us off, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and for everyone's hard work and dedication to the EDC board. You guys do do an excellent job of working together, and it's been a great pleasure just working with this board. Our president has done a great job of presiding, and just want to thank you for your services. I don't really have anything else at the moment, so I just hope that we continue to work together to bring prosperity to the city of Freeport. I'm looking forward to seeing even more development come into the city, more business, more job opportunities. So I just hope that we can continue to work together and make our city great. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, and thank you for the kind words. Mark?
I always have to follow her. I just want to thank Anna for all the work that she's been, doing. Main Street program, how difficult that is. Some of the things that she's gone through, and I love the, the Kid Fest and the Cinco de Mayo and all that, the efforts that everybody put forth in that. Those were great things. And I think our primary focus, we need houses at Freeport. We need houses. And however we do that, I think that's a primary task that we need to have. That's it.
Thank you, Mark. Ronnie?
Nothing to say.
Thanks. Ken?
Who, me? Oh, okay.
Yes.
No, I just appreciate the folks that I visit with and talk to. A lot of folks know me, and they like what we're doing. A lot of positive comments to me as far as the EDC and a good group of board members, and Robert and Rachel and Lance and Jerry and everybody. It's nothing negative that I've heard. It's all good things, and makes us feel a little bit better when people compliment us for doing the best that we can. So that's it.
Thank you, Ken. Ms. Lessa?
Actually, I want to mimic, just piggyback off of what Mark said, and Anna just walked in, but she's in the back. Also, just want to thank her for her partnership with the Main Street. I think we've always had, I think, a lot of events for the city of Freeport. We have other surrounding cities, and I think nobody comes close to how many events we have for our city. And I just think that shows how we want to have people come and visit Freeport, do things not just for, adults, for kids. And this is just a perfect example, and she just goes above and beyond and is always trying to get people, what we want to visit Freeport and downtown. So anyway, I just wanted to thank her for that. And I didn't thank you, Anna. And I wasn't here, I think, on the last meeting. I was in Vegas. But welcome, Ron, to the group. I think we do have a really good mesh of people working together here, and it takes us all to have a vision. I think we all do, and we care about Freeport. So welcome to the group, Ron.
Thank you.
And I think there was one other thing I wanted to mention, but it just left me. But again, I think this is great, and looking forward to what's coming up. Oh, I know what it was. I wanted to, I know they're not here, but I wanted to thank or congratulate Jarvis and Winston for city council, and then Jerry Kane for mayor. So congratulations.
I did want to remind those watching and those in attendance, we do have our community engagement session coming up on Friday for the project on the river. And right now we have, what I would call like a rough draft. And so it'll kind of go through the edits, of the people, see what the citizens have to say. And then they'll go back and make those edits. So I'm excited to see what everyone else thinks and what input, they have on how we can improve that project and how we can just make our city better. And I do agree, Mark, we do need housing. We have the jobs, but we don't have anywhere for those people to live. So if we could, I know there's been some back and forth and a little bit of a sticky situation there with that, but if we could have any input or any influence in acquiring housing for people that are professionals that work in this city, I think that would be a really good thing as well. And at the end of these meetings, I always feel like we've just done a lot on behalf of the city and on behalf, I work with kids, so them having equipment to play on, the playground to go to where they won't get hurt, that's, those are making a difference in the lives of everyday people. And so the work that we're doing here it is good and meaningful work. And I just hope, but I'm sure that we will keep that momentum going forward.
Mr. President, I echo those sentiments. First off, I'd like to congratulate our new mayor, Mr. Kane, Mayor Kane, and the council members that were elected. I think that's great that we're moving forward positively. Also, I think the board should be, just my observation, should be very proud of themselves tonight. We've accomplished a lot. That park project is something that's really going to be special. So I thank you for that. Couple things. We'll have our inaugural business development breakfast on July 11th. That's part of our business retention and recruitment program. Jennifer Finney from the SBDC and Casey Roman probably will be the guests that are speaking. It's a topical breakfast where they're going to be telling what the SBDC does for small businesses, and we'll get small business owners out there, give them breakfast and give them some continuing education, if you will, on doing better business, which benefits the town. Working with Company X, I'll leave it at that. Another green hydrogen, green ammonia manufacturing facility, looking at some of the larger properties, of course, appropriately on the outskirts of town. For this company, they reached out to me. They'd like to meet. This is probably, if memory doesn't fail me, the fourth green hydrogen plant that we've talked to. So they've been reaching out to locate here. It's something on the industrial side that I just wanted to make the board aware of. Also, our friend, the Demolition Downtown, let me give you a progress update. Tonight, the President Mitchell just signed the contract for them. The reason for the delay was it was a 23-page contract, somewhere in that neighborhood, that Lauren wrote for us with assist by Page, I'm sure. But when we sent it to Tuberville Construction, they had a few concerns and went to their own attorney, who made some red line changes. So there was some back and forth negotiation, and then it was written. But the good news is it's signed by President Mitchell, and it'll be signed by Tuberville tomorrow with the start date, he told me, of early next week, so we can move on from that. Also met with Matt Covey, who at our last special meeting, we awarded the who's with Grassmasters, and we awarded that contract to him. I walked all the properties with him. It made some explanations of what we want to see and moving forward. So there's going to be good communication. I think we've got another solid contract that outlines what we want. So I think there will be improvement as far as our mowing is concerned. Now, one issue that we did have, he may have to come back to the board. We looked at the property of Realty World. If you recall, there was that period of time where we were advised by our legal counsel not to mow it. Well, there's been a lot of overgrowth on that, so there might need to be some modest special consideration with regards to a one-time mowing cleanup, et cetera, to that. So there may be, and of course, this will come to the board if there is, but there may be a one-time extra charge for that, which I think is appropriate. But Mark, you and I have been out there and looked at that property, so I'm sure you're familiar with that overgrowth and some of the dirt buildup and et cetera. We also met, myself, Lance, Anna, and Chandra met about the TERS program, and the TERS was set up, and I've done a lot of research into the TERS. It was set up appropriately. It's collecting the money that it should, but aside from looking at the downtown and the 8.8 acres, which seems to be directly mentioned in the report, there's precious little on the plan. And when you write a TERS, you usually, it's been my experience, you usually have different plans that you want to pursue. The bad news is there's nothing there. The good news is there's nothing there. We've got an open slate to work with. Through those discussions with Lance and Anna and Shonda, we've come to the conclusion that looking at the 8.8 acres and getting this guidance and what we're about to receive on Friday from Gensler and that moving forward, and then also the UTSA plan that Anna just outlined will give us guidance for infrastructure projects potential, and certainly in the case of UTSA, we've been in contact with them as they've approached this study to be aware that we're going to be looking for infrastructure plans, excuse me, for the downtown that we can pursue and get guidance from the report on that. So that's just an update on the TERS. We'll probably call a TERS meeting. Of course, the EDC board, by how the TERS was set up, the EDC board is automatically appointed, plus the two other members from the county and from the college are on the TERS board. So we'll be looking at convening a meeting soon. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to our executive session. It is now 7:07 p.m., and I hereby recess the regular session of the Freeport Economic Development Corporation meeting and do hereby convene into executive session in compliance with Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.087, economic and community development matters, and